Welcome to Saxon Math Course 1. Today we're talking about Lesson 9, the number line, ordering and comparing. Our objectives for today: after this lesson you should be able to use a number line to order numbers from least to greatest, use comparison symbols to compare two numbers, find the value of two expressions and compare them using comparison symbols, and use digits and other symbols to write comparisons that are stated in words. Some review from Lesson 8. We talked about perimeter in that lesson. Remember, that's adding up all the sides of a flat shape. And then we also learned that you can find the side length of a square by dividing its perimeter by 4, because all the sides of a square are the same length. Let's take a look at a number line and look at the numbers, the parts of a number line. So here's a picture of a number line, and you'll notice first of all that we have two arrows on either end. Those arrows mean that this number line continues forever in both directions. So it goes on to the left and to the right forever. This is kind of our first look at negative numbers on a number line. So let's look at 0 right here. So 0 is called the origin on the number line. Everything starts at 0. And then as you continue to the left, you'll see our negative numbers, which I'll circle in green. So those are getting farther away from 0 to the left. And when you move left on a number line, this way, everything is getting smaller. So everything's getting smaller that way. Then in purple, I'll circle our positive numbers. And everything to the right of 0 on that way is getting, you guessed it, bigger. And then these lines, let's see, I'll use, what color should I use here? How about orange? These lines right here, I'm putting dots above them. Those are called tick marks. Those are just marks to show where the numbers are on the number line, so that they can have an arrow pointing at a tick mark or something, and you can tell them what number is represented by that tick mark. Let's talk about comparing numbers now that you saw a number line. So we have three comparison symbols that we're going to use. We have the equal to sign, the less than sign, and the greater than sign. So here's an example. We're going to use a comparison symbol to compare 5,012 and 5,102. And then we'll do that second problem after that. So first, if we write these two numbers, 5,012 and then 5,102, remember that the closer a positive number is to 0, and both of these numbers are positive, the closer it is to 0, the smaller the number. So we start looking at the place values of the number, and we always start with the biggest place value. And both of these are in the thousands, so we're going to look at the thousands place. In the thousands place of both numbers is a 5, so that means those are the same. So we look at the next place, the hundreds place. This 5,012 has a 0, 5,102 has a 1. That means 0 is less than 1, so we're going to put the less than symbol. 5,012 is less than 5,102. We're going to do the same thing in the second practice problem, except we need to solve these problems first. These are both division problems. We need to find the quotient before we can compare. So this first division problem has no parentheses, and that means we're just going to move left to right. So 16 divided by 8 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's our first quotient. The second one, however, does have a set of parentheses, and remember, because of order of operations that we learned about before, we always do parentheses first. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, 16 divided by 4 is also 4, so the right side is 4. 1 is less than 4, it's closer to 0 than 4 is, so we're going to again use the less than symbol. 1 is less than 4. Just a note here that you need to remember, every time they ask you to compare problems using words, compare numbers using words in your book, you're always going to write them in the same order they're given in the book. So, for example, these two, even though both of these expressions is correct, there's nothing wrong with either one, they're not read the same way. The first one is 4 is less than 6, and the second is 6 is greater than 4. So if the book asked you to use digits and a comparison symbol to write 4 is less than 6, this one would be correct, this one would be incorrect. So you have to write them in the same order. If they say write 4 is less than 6, start with the 4. That way you'll make sure that you write it the way that they want you to write it. That's all for your lesson today. Make sure you work through your practice problems and post any questions to that video discussion section so we can talk about them in class. We'll see you in lesson 10.